Coming to you live from the Pensado Theater at the all-new SAE Los Angeles campus. Pensado's Place is brought to you by Vintage King, the Blackbird Academy, Audio Technica, Aftermaster, Isotope, Studio 202 DC, Avid, and The Recording Connection.
No less than Joe Perry from Aerosmith says our guest just gets it. Indeed, high praise from high places. We've got a brand new ITL from the Master Blaster Dave. We're going to crank this boy up Tennessee style. You're at the place. It's Pensado's Place.
Yay! You notice something different, right? We're at Blackbird Studios, Studio C, hanging with the boys from the session this week. Cool guys, huh, Herbert? You got a good bunch of guys.
Yeah, I just spent some time with them. These are really good guys. Say hello, guys. Wave at the camera. Hello. All right, this is a group of real badasses. Should we get to it?
Please.
Howdy, guys. It's great to see you. As Dave said, we're coming to you from the incredible Studio C at Blackbird Studios in Nashville. We're down here for Gear Expo. About 1,000 of our friends are coming. By the way, guys, are you learning anything? Yeah?
Oh,
yeah,
definitely. Absolutely.
How about you? Are you learning anything from these guys?
Oh, yeah. No, that's a great bunch of people. Learning should be fun, and we've just had a blast.
Yeah.
We've seen some guys grow. We've seen some guys mature. We've seen some guys absorb new concepts and stuff. It's just nobody gets more out of this than me.
Well, I will tell you that Dave's been down here for a week. We just got here, me and Chongor and the team. I got a chance to spend an hour with all these guys you see behind me. Incredible ideas, incredible options. If you get an opportunity and plan your pennies, just do a Blackbird session with Dave or some of the other folks they have. Really incredible. And you actually get to work with a live band. What's the name of the band and how's that?
Fall to June.
Fall to June. Tell me about it.
My man Nate, Ben, Jason, and Ninja, they came in and they just slayed it.
Yeah.
They're like a touring rock band, and we tried to preserve every element of that touring live feel. The guys here contributed, a lot of the guys contributed actual ideas and parts and stuff. Cool. And
how's it been for you guys? A cool band?
Great to work with.
And as an experience, actually doing it in this kind of environment with a real band with Dave, is that something that you just sort of a priceless opportunity?
Definitely.
Yes.
Priceless.
Plus, John McBride came in and set up the drums for us. I mean, I'd pay 20 grand for that.
It doesn't cost you 20 grand, by the way. Don't freak out. Well, that's great. I think.
With the Pensado Place discount.
Oh, that's true. Oh, I see. Got you. That brings it way down.
That's my price. They get in free.
I see. Got you.
I'm confusing you guys. Check it out. It's a bargain. I'm telling you.
So a lot of that is not only the opportunity that John McBride and Blackbird presents, but also our incredible sponsors. You know who they are. Vintage King, obviously the Blackbird Academy, Audio Technica, Aftermaster, Isotope, Studio 202 DC, Avid and Recording Connection. They're the folks that make that stuff happen for free. They're the best sponsors in the world. And also want to thank you for your likes and subscribes. That's the stuff that keeps us going. Hey, we want to quickly shout out Greg Wells, a good friend of the show, a good friend of yours. Greg is somebody whose heart is big. He cares about what's going on. He cares about humanity. If you go to this link that's right below me, the winning bidder, Greg will produce a song on, and all those proceeds will go to help house the Syrian refugees, some Syrian refugees, and that incredible crisis that's going on. It doesn't matter what side of the political divide you're on. Human suffering is human suffering, and people who don't deserve to suffer, if we're in a position to help, we should help, and Greg wants to do that. So big kudos, big tip of the Pensado cap to Greg Wells, always an intellectual about things and a caring guy. Get to that link, bid, and also get produced by a complete badass. So you can do good and do well at the same time, correct?
Yeah.
DP, you got a ITL for us?
I wonder if I'm eligible for that prize.
No, I took you out of the mix.
It's never going to happen, right?
No. Well, we're going to house some refugees, but not this way. So, well, look behind us.
Ooh, refugees?
Yeah, absolutely.
From time to time, I just run into stuff I've got to share with the guys. These are 3 boutique plugins, smaller companies that I use on every mix. I've found some plugins that I've got to share with you. I've shared some outboard gear with you that I like. This is some plugins that I like. It's 3 manufacturers. You might not have heard of them. Smaller companies, some of them one-man shops, but they're cool as heck and they just sound amazing. So the first one I want to tell you about is the U73B. Now it's a little company, and they're going to be growing. They've got other products. I want you to check them out. It's called, the company, I apologize, it's called Audified. There you go. And I think their website is Audified, A-U-D-I-F-I-E-D, audified.com. The owner's really cool. So back in the 60s and 50s, in order to make a record, a vinyl record, you needed a cutting lathe. And now that cutting lathe would, think of a speaker translating an electrical signal into movement. So the speaker would move like this. Well, what the cutting lathe did was it made a piece of steel, a piece of metal, vibrate up and down on a piece of acetate, and when that vibrated up and down, it vibrated to the sound of to replicate the music coming through just like a speaker would, but it was attached to this cutting lathe. And it turns out we thought that what we liked about vinyl was the vinyl itself, but what we really liked, also equally so, was the compressor limiter that was at the end of the audio change, so that the cutting lathe didn't have to work as hard. Because if the cutting lathe had too much low frequency information, the grooves would kind of do this at the peak, which means when the needle hit that, it would skip. And then if the cutting lathe had too much high frequency information, which was down in here, it would burn the cutting lathe head up. So this compressor started life as the compressor that did that. And it could be like the power suggestion, but it really feels to me like it gives you the best of what vinyl can do. So let me show you an example. This is my friend Magdalena Tull. You've heard me talk about her before. Now here's a vocal. I love this thing on vocals. I love it on drum auxes, guitars. I mean, you got to try it on everything. Well, let me show it to you. This is it. You know what's so cool? Look, German, right? That means compressor. That means limiter. These up in here, I think, are time dependent or threshold dependent. You got input and output. You got some high pass filters and stuff. Got to hear this. Check this out.
Is there someone I hear no one?
Now with it.
Is there someone I hear no one? Is there someone I hear no one? Is there someone I hear no one?
We toss the term glue around quite a bit, and I'm telling you, that's kind of what it did. It kind of glued it together. Check this little bad boy out. I like it just because it's just kind of funky looking, and when I have friends come by, I pull it up whether I'm using it or not, just so they'll go, "What the hell is that, Dave?" So it has multiple uses. Now let me show you another group. This is a group of plugins I'm going to describe to you coming up. Equally cool. Hold on a second. Let me set it up. Okay, guys. Next, I want to show you a plugin group by U-He. Uhe. My friend Urs. I think his last name's Heckman. What did I say it was? Yeah. Urs Heckman owns this company. They make several plugins. Go to their website and just type it on Google, U-He. I use their Presswork compressor, which is amazing. And this is a collection of plugins. So it's called the UHBIK. And you'll notice that it's a -F. There's like a bunch of these guys. So when you buy this bundle, I'm gonna read this off to you. You get this thing called a Run Cider. It's just a monster filter on steroids. Does all kinds of stuff. You get a pitch change. You get an EQ, flanger, phase, a reverb, some delays, and it all comes in the same, you pay for one, you get all these. I've been on a quest for a great flanger, and this is a preset that I use on this flanger, so let me play you. Oh, I'm using my friend over here, DDMF, because this is a VST plugin, and I like to use a lot of VSTs in Pro Tools, so don't let the fact that it's a VST scare you. Blue Cat makes a great wrapper, DDMF. This is Meta plugin, META plugin. So here's without it. Pretty cool sound, but check this out. You can't help but move your mouth to the modulation, right? I was doing like that. Man, I love this flanger. I think I made another preset. Oh yeah, ooh, this is even more wicked. Watch this. Ooh, I love it, love it. Okay, so I've got one more I want to show you. I use this flanger a lot. I use the press work a lot. The company's called UHE. Trying to find a logo here for you so you can see it. Let's see. Okay, right here, u-he.com here in the bottom right-hand corner. Go to their website, check it out. Lots of cool features, lots of great. I use all this series, and there's some real gems here. Okay, my friend Greg Scott makes some of the most amazing plugins and outboard gear. If you look at my rack, I use his outboard Clariphonic all the time, every mix. I actually use the plugin just as much, maybe more, because I have a bunch of them that way. He's got a couple of great compressors. He's got like a little an EQ that's amazing, a hardware and software version. So go check out Kush Audio. Look it up, and you'll see a lot of the stuff. Greg got a little bored one day and decided to kind of invent some plugins, and I'm not really sure why he put them out under a different name, but I'm just sure glad he did, because they're amazing. There's 3 plugins. There's the one you see here, Caillat, that's kind of, he calls it a one-trick pony, but it's a one-trick pony with like 8 legs and 4 saddles. So I love this plugin. And how many times have you pulled up an API 550 and instead of 2 dB gain, you wanted 1 dB gain, or instead of the frequencies that that it has, you wanted something different? Well, he's got a plugin that emulates that pretty well, but he adds to it. So these plugins are not exact emulations; they're improvements on those emulations based on Greg. And Greg's got great taste. He's got the best videos on the internet. So that API is amazing because it's continuously variable for gain, continuously variable for frequency. And then a third one emulates, I guess he won't get mad at me if I say what it emulates, will he? It begins with a D, your favorite compressor that begins with a D that everybody uses. And sometimes when my tires get low, I hook up a compressor to those tires, but just, D compressor, you can figure it out. And I love that one too, but I'm gonna show you this on a bass. Now this is a VST plugin again. I'm using my old buddy DDMF. Let's see, where am I? Okay, this is without it. Okay, this is with it. I love this thing. It's amazing. Check this out. this breakup knob, that's where the money is. This movement knob is pretty cool. Treble does what it does. And this is a mix knob. These are some gains, and but the money's here in these two knobs. Check the whole series out because they're all very, very useful. And support these smaller companies. They're creating things that don't exist, and they're no threat to the big guys, but we want to see them become a threat. So support them, okay? All right.
When guys from Aerosmith or the Fray or James Blunt say the kinds of things about you that they say about our guest, boy, it tells you about this guy's work. He's a songwriter, a producer, an engineer, a friend of ours. We spent a good time having a conversation with him a couple weeks ago. Please enjoy meeting Warren Huart.
Hey guys, we're hanging with Warren.
War and Peace?
I'm trying to master his last
War and
name. I
Peace.
know his last name is Huart, but I've got so many ways to remember it. Anyway, man, thanks for coming by, buddy.
All right.
Big fan of your work.
Thank you. Big fan of yours.
Your videos produced like a pro. I'm on there all the time.
You are?
I rip you off thoroughly.
No, but I'm doing that with you.
Well,
what are you talking about?
Well, you have more viewers than I do, so that means you're heavily influenced by me. I'm just flat out.
No, I'm very heavily influenced.
That thing you talk about distraction and how that, when you're working with a vocalist or either if you're recording yourself, sometimes you have to get the singer's attention off of things like pitch and timing,
Sure.
and so you have techniques to draw their attention away and just sing. Singers should just
Sure.
sing, and you say those are distraction techniques. Can you amplify that a little bit? Because I thought that was a neat way to put it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I do think distractions are a big part of what we do.
What? I was being distracted.
What? I stole that. We were just talking about it. You were asking me about that earlier, so I'm glad you brought it up. I think that I stole that from Jack Douglas because not because he ever verbalized that, but you know what it's like when you work with different producers and engineers as we're coming up and stuff. We borrow things from them, even unwittingly, you know.
Yeah.
And
that's influenced by.
Yeah, definitely, and sort of being mentored by these people, even if they're not deliberately trying to mentor you. And with Jack, I noticed specifically, you know, with Aerosmith, was like just to make everybody in the room feel like they actually were of value. Like one of his greatest skills was like if you've got, you know, a Joe Perry or a Steven Tyler or whatever it is, it's like everybody feels good and they can bring in their ideas. But nobody feels more or less important. And one of the things he will do when he was working with Steven is just keep it so that Steven's actually having fun and enjoying the process. And it works on different levels, as you know. I know you understand the principle of distraction.
And everybody's different too.
Everybody's different. Some guys or girls, you know, some artists need to be in the zone entirely and need to, you know, I remember going to Ron Anderson, the vocal coach. I'm sure you know. Works with him, wonderful vocal coach. And with some singers, what he would recommend doing is like taking a lyric sheet and speaking the lyric to the music. So they would literally speak it in time. Because for that, some people, it's all about their weakness is just their timing, but their pitch is incredible. And then some people have incredible timing and don't have pitch. But for a lot of artists, I've noticed over the years, especially with all the tools that we have now, all the tools that we have in the digital world where we can correct if we need to, the biggest thing that we need to get from artists, and the things that, for at least for me, and I'm sure for you, that I always identify with, like we were talking about Hey Jude, like what an incredible vocal. Reason why it sounds so amazing is, yeah, it's the U48, the warm vocal right up front that gets you straight away. But it's the fact, like, when you read about it and you find out that Paul wrote it about Julian Lennon, and it was changed from Hey Jules to Hey Jude, you know, just so that it probably was less personal and people couldn't, you know. But the thing is, you get that feeling as a kid when you hear that song that he's really singing to a real person and it's intimate and you buy it. And so, regardless of auto-tune, Melodyne, and the ability to vocal align stuff, what is the thing that we want? We want performance. And sometimes it's like that suspending, either getting back to the moment when you wrote the song, you know, which sometimes is the scratch vocal you were telling me about, the scratch vocal of Christina Aguilera, that's the scratch vocal. Probably she just finished writing the song and sung it. You know, what's more pure than that?
Linda Perry wrote it, but yeah.
Well, with Linda.
First time she went over it.
First time she went over it with Linda, yeah. So it was like that was the purest moment, excitement, you know. I had an engineer that worked for me who won a Grammy on Someone Like You, because it was the demo that he did with Dan, just sitting there, Dan Wilson and Adele, and they finished the demo, and then Rick produced it and did all the stuff, and everybody was just in love with the piano vocal, and that's what they put out.
Wow.
I don't think there's even a harmony in it. There might be one word harmonized somewhere.
I think you're right.
Yeah, so I think you know it's a great point, but yes, distraction's a great one because sometimes we get so into the detail, we get our timing and the pitch is perfect, but where's the emotional content? You know,
That's always important. Your skill set includes guitar, mixing, songwriting, producing, studio cleanup. You do a lot of everything. And then you even do some film and TV stuff. Of all the things that you do that capture your imagination, is the variety what keeps you going?
Entirely. Yeah. If we could have a one-word answer for any question, it'd be yes.
So I'm a one-trick pony. I just mix.
You're not though, because you came up like me as a musician.
True.
You and look, you're doing this.
So I'm a two-trick pony, is what you're saying.
Yeah, but you've got like 18 elements to this.
Do you have any stories from the last Aerosmith album? It is the last album, isn't it?
Yeah, the last album, yeah.
A great record, by the way.
Thank you.
You and Jack did that together, didn't you?
we
Jack
did.
Douglas.
Yep.
Do you have any stories to share with me about that? Or
Oh, there's a million.
just give me a good one. give me one you can get in trouble with.
Well, the two that I often tell, so I'm sorry if I repeat myself, but I think are very indicative of the process, is when we came back to sort of do, I think it was like a 9-month process. The second 6 months was in LA, the first 3 months was in Boston. Was in the South Shore, actually, just outside Boston, but, you know, the Boston area. And the second half, when we came back, and we were in LA for like 6 months, Stephen was doing American Idol, as we all know. You know, he was doing the show, he was one of the judges. I would say, you know, I don't know how old he was at the time, 62 maybe, you know, he was early 60s. He would go do American Idol all day. And American Idol was not just a filming, it's like what you've been doing here. I'm witnessing it, you know, there's a lot. You're sitting, you're talking about what you're going to talk about. There's a lot of planning. It's not just show up on camera for half an hour and go, hey, I'm done, and go and skip in the tulips. There's a lot of work. So he's doing all the work that needs to be. Then he's like hosting a party afterwards where he has to meet and greet people and be the... And then he would like show up at the studio at like 5 or 6 in the evening.
Hard.
And then work till like 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I had to match his hours. So I'd come in at 10 in the morning, I'd edit some stuff, do what I had to do, you know, put together, you know, the guitar parts from yesterday, listen to some stuff, have work ready for him. Jack would sit there and work with me, tell me what he wanted to work on. Then Stephen would come in, we'd sing. You know, plus he plays multiple instruments, go and do some tambourines, you know, hit a piano, whatever. So it's like, here's a guy who's like 62 or whatever he was, outworking everybody else, which is what we were talking about earlier, about these hours that if you're really the guy and you're not just showing up.
It's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle.
That's so cool. That was a very good story, though. You got a better one?
Joe.
Oh, good.
Well, Joe...
I'm teasing about it.
No. The thing about Joe is he's, you know, I say this a lot. I've met Jeff Beck. I've met...
My favorite guitar player.
Mine too. With Brian May. I'm always a big Brian May. But Jeff's definitely my favorite. Jeff Beck, Joe Perry, and Eddie Van Halen. And I hope this doesn't come out wrong, but they're almost the same personality. They probably all hate me saying that. They're still 19-year-old guitar playing fanatics.
Yeah.
All three of them.
Yeah, Eddie's inspirational.
All he does is talk about playing guitar and music.
His website's amazing if you want to check it out. The Smithsonian stuff, those tapes.
It's amazing.
I had no idea.
It's just you've got these guys that they're still 19-year-olds. They still like talking about guitars, playing guitar. You know, they still like cars.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
They all kind of live in the same kind of English-style mansion, whether they're in England or in America. I think everybody secretly wants to be Jimmy Page, except for Jeff Beck, who's already Jeff Beck. They all want to be Jeff Beck, actually.
You know, there's a direct lineage from those early guys, all the Yardbirds graduates. You know,
Absolutely.
man, what impact they've had on us all.
Yeah, I agree entirely.
One of the things that that I was fascinated by when you were mixing some of Steven Tyler's vocals, and he would come in and he'd say, Warren, turn that word up, turn that word up, turn that word up, and you'd be sitting there going,
yeah, is this guy crazy?
And then you play it back and like, oh, can you explain that? Because I think that's something that I try to do. Hopefully I do it well, but explain to our audience how that actually can. It's a way of controlling the energy and the flow and the feel and if you. I'm answering the question for you, but
no, please.
But if I talk in monotone, nobody's going to follow me after a while. I know because I've tried, and you guys left in droves. But if I go up and down, I can hold your interest because the human brain is constructed that way. We like tension and release, and that's what it's doing, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And he one thing he said to me once, he goes, "If something is worth hearing, it's worth hearing too loud."
I've got a friend, Ron Fair. If there's a shaker, it's too loud. Sorry, Ron, I told on you. But I love that about Ron. I like people with opinions.
I could do too.
And concepts. But did you tend to turn the first word of a phrase so it felt like he came in
There's definitely
powerful?
entry points,
Yeah, because I do that a lot too.
Just because once it's like when you solo, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Like if you solo a vocal, the vocal's too quiet. Oh my God, the vocal's too quiet. You solo it, you're like, no, it's the right volume. Because you just pulled your ear into it.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is completely correct. Push the beginning of a phrase up, everybody identifies with it, and then they just keep listening to it.
Groove versus grid.
Oh, groove every time.
Yeah, explain why I asked that.
I think we're living in this world where we all, I suppose if I was up and coming now and I could buy a laptop and any DAW, of which this doesn't even have to be Pro Tools anymore. There's so many great DAWs. I think every drummer sounds the same these days. There you go. There's kind of a problem.
If they quantize it.
If they quantize it, I just think they all sound the same anyway. I think that one of the problems is, ouch, I don't know how to even phrase this without getting too contentious. I think that since the 90s and since DAWs have become so prevalent, and we've all of us, including myself, have overcorrected stuff, kids coming up are listening to that music.
Yeah. I didn't know people had bad timing until we had perfect timing for 10 years.
Bada bing.
I thought feel was what we were supposed to be, and then suddenly you get seduced by perfection and you lose feel. I
mean, Bonham, Keith Moon, Charlie Watts, Ringo Starr. Listen to one bar of each of those, and you know the drummer. Listen to a generic-y, emo-y rock band now. Take a bar of the four drummers. No disrespect. Sure, they're all great drummers. It may as well be Josh Freese playing on all the records.
Yeah. But why can't we, to play devil's advocate, why can't we, like a lot of times I'll go through with programmed drums and I'll sit there and I'll manipulate the kick as if I were playing it. So I might get a little happy going into bar 9 or bar 5, or I might increase the 1K on the kick in the chorus just to make it feel like he got hit it a little harder.
Great.
And then I like my verses to retard the 2 and the 4 a little bit.
Sure.
We call that playing in the pocket in the South. And then I like my choruses to rush a little bit because I'm a guitar player. You know?
Yeah.
And you can do that. You can manipulate it, and the clown will come in and say that's horrible, and you go, okay, well, I'll save it for the next record, and your next record never comes. But I think we should try a little bit to massage those things because we massage a vocal. Why not massage the drums? Well, I know why, because it takes like 2 days to do that. That's
it
one
does
reason.
take a long time.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's clients that love it. And if you record like one of the great session drummers like the Victor and Drizos or the Matt Chambers and stuff, they're not playing kick, dick, duk, dick, dunk. They are coming in a one, maybe a little pushed on that chorus, so it's just a little bit more exciting. And then maybe laying back, coming into the verse, so it just feels a little deeper.
You know what? I was reading Mix magazine back when it might not have been Mix. I think Mix was out back then. It was either Mix magazine or REP. And the engineer, who I didn't recognize because I didn't recognize anybody when I first started, but he said, I use this compressor because, I think he was talking about a Fairchild, because sometimes the drummer gets happy going into the chorus and I need to smooth those things out. And I'm thinking, isn't that the opposite of what you should do?
Exactly.
And from that moment on, I haven't liked compressors. And so I don't do a lot of compression. I write a lot of faders, but
Sure.
But
That's wonderful.
But to me, one of the things that I look for in a song, and this interview is about you, not me, but
this is good.
Is just dynamics. I came from a live background. I played in front of every drunk in the South.
Sure.
They were there to get laid and get drunk. I'm there to make the club owner money, or I don't pay my rent.
Yeah.
And to get those guys to come back, you can't be subtle. And you have to. That's not rewarded in that world I came. You know, I played those places with a chicken wire in front of me. You know, like from Blues
Brothers. Yeah. Both country and western.
You know, one of the things that I respect about you, among many things, because I'm a big fan of your work, and you guys should look him up and spend some time listening to his records. He's the real deal.
Do I pay you now or later?
You already paid me once. That's cool. Is the way you. I'm not a big fan of the word give back, but the way you so thoroughly and completely involve yourself in trying to help independent bands, and you don't work just with the big Aerosmiths and the Korns and all those big groups, but you have a soft spot in your heart for indie bands. First of all, I don't know what indie band means. To me, it means just a group that's not signed to a major, probably doesn't have a lot of money, but has hopefully some really neat stuff that you want to be a part of, because you can write. I can write, but nobody likes it. So I have to have a good group or I don't get to work.
Right.
I mean, you can sit in a room and create something for yourself, but where's that passion come from?
I think you answered that question early when you asked me the question about doing everything and getting involved in that. The thing when I work with an independent artist, some of my favorite independent artists to work with are just solo singers, because I can get in there, I can co-write the songs with them. Not always. I don't impose myself. I remember as a musician, sometimes guys would come in and, you should go to a G minor. Now I have a third of the song. I don't want to be that guy, but at the same time, the ability to co-write with an artist, to play the instruments, get stuck in there, it fulfills all of my passions. Because I, like you, grew up as a guitar player. Loving guitar players. Like Brian May was the first guitar player I loved. I just put on headphones on a night at the opera and just like, what is this? I was a little kid and I just couldn't believe it. And because I grew up with classical music, because my father's a classical music buff, which of course has got, not always, but a lot of complexity to it in rhythm and melody. And so I was always inspired by music on many, many levels. So for me, working with independent artists fulfills all of those things. I get to write and produce and engineer and mix and play instruments and do the odd bad, out-of-tune harmony. Yeah,
that's cool. Which reminds me, you said a mixer should just make it more of what it is.
Yeah.
And that captivated my imagination. A mixer should just sit there and just make it more of what it is.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And I guess with indie bands, that's fun because they allow you to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Get to the essence.
I like it. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, please.
It's more fun to come to the mix session with no preconceived ideas than to have everything already planned out.
Sure.
A mix rarely ends up the way it starts out in my imagination or mind. And by the way, your dad was an artist and you have an art background. Shouldn't creativity come from a space of trying to be something instead of trying to not be something? So in other words, if you're trying not to be pop, and you are, or if you're trying not to be this or trying not to be that, in the fine art world, that never produced lasting art.
I love that you're saying that, because I was thinking last night, I wonder what we're going to touch on. And, we'd had a conversation on the phone, so I know we had similar tastes and we have similar backgrounds and almost the same journey by being a musician going into this, not coming up a traditional assistant engineer, blah, 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 blah.
I wish I had, by the way. I wish I'd done that.
So do I sometimes, to be quite frank, because I see some of those guys, like, they can repatch something in 4 seconds, and I'm like, oh, shit.
Same here.
But at the same time, I think for the modern world that you and I exist in, this is what kids should be doing now. They should be musicians as well as engineers and producers and mixers.
I think so too.
I just do. I think that being an engineer is an admirable thing, but it's a tough way to make a living now. You need to have those musical things. But to get back to your kind of point, talking about, I think that's something I've encountered, luckily not that often, because, you know, part of the process of working with bands is choosing the bands to work with, and vice versa. They choose me, I choose them. Mutually want to work with together. But one of the things that a lot of indie alternative bands, or whatever you want to call them, suffer from, I personally think this, is they're afraid to write really good, memorable songs. Because I'm sure you hear, oh, that's a bit too pop.
Yeah,
What does that mean? What does that mean? What, popular?
Well, it means that I ain't gonna take a point on your record.
Yeah.
Because it's a waste of time. Pay me more up front.
Yeah, it's...
How do you keep score anymore? Like, I used to keep score by my position on the Hot 100 chart.
Oh, yeah.
How do we keep score now? I mean...
I don't know. I mean, these days, most albums, you know, with medium independently level might come in first week top 40. I would probably had 4 or 5 top 40 albums last year. I did Ace Frehley's album. That was like top 10.
Oh, cool.
He gave me some production on it, and I mixed the album. And then Marc Broussard. He's amazing singer, amazing singer. Josh Radin, you know, Trevor Hall, I just did his record, wonderfully talented guy. You know, so artists that have kind of those cult followings will always come in top 40, but as you know now, it used to be like an album would come in at 80 and then go to the top 10, depending. Hopefully. Now, the best week for any artist, it doesn't matter if you're Katy Perry or Trevor Hall, your first week is your best week. So how do you keep score? I don't know. You just go, oh, this week, this one was number 10.
Yeah, the hardest thing for me in my career has always been, I don't know how to articulate it. Is to construct an environment whereby I get to say how good I'm doing. I've always relied on external compliments or chart positions or this sort of thing to kind of judge how good I was, and I'm getting a little better at knowing when I'm good, but I don't think I'll ever get there. How do you fight that?
Interesting. I think that I'm always pushing myself. I still practice guitar every day like nuts. Whether I'm mixing it, engineering, producing it, writing, whatever it is, I always have a guitar in my hands a lot, not always, but most of the time. I also do everything by ear. I'm not very good at taking notes. You're 1,000 times better than I am. You know what I mean? If the acoustic guitar needs to be cut, I'll just walk in and start playing it. But that's because I work on that. I wasn't a naturally gifted musician. I don't know about you. I wasn't one of those kids that picked up a guitar and was like, blah, 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 blah. You know, like some kids I grew up with. There's one kid, John. We both were rock fans. He picked up guitar at the same time as me, and like a week later, he had like worked out like the first AC/DC record. I was still trying to figure out how to play the A, and he had figured out every chord sequence in every song. He just had that ear.
Yeah. Eddie's got a great ear too.
Yeah. But I have a good ear now. I have great ear. But I work like crazy. I still, when I can't sleep, put on ear training exercises at night.
That's amazing.
I still do finger exercises every single day. I was just saying to Connor this morning, I was like, I've got one exercise I could show you, do some ear training, that will make you a musician. Get the strength and the articulation and develop the ear. Because really, the technique part of it is important, but the ear is just like supersedes everything.
You ready for some batter's box?
Please.
Okay. Warren, I got to tell you, Herb's not here, so I could win this one because I get to judge today. So you got to be on your best game, buddy.
Oh, no, you'll win.
No, I won't. I never do. Piano.
Oh, God, the Fray.
Ooh, great record. Kick drum.
Jeff Emmerich.
Oh.
Because of the story when he had to go and ask the permission.
Oh, okay.
I just, for some reason, I think of him.
I'll keep it on that thread. Lennon or McCartney?
Lennon.
Snare drums.
Oh, superphonic. Sound of rock and roll.
Is that what Kenny Aronoff plays?
I think he plays the Tama, version, but
I got distracted here, sorry.
You can take the 5 Ludwig snares. Great players, they all play the superphonic.
I think his thing is anything before 62, right?
Yeah.
Bass.
Oh, Jacko.
Vocals.
U48.
Stereo bass.
Stereo bass, Pultex.
Strings.
See, violin jumped into my mind. Had nothing to do with guitars.
If you're and don't give me don't give me an answer like my computer or my hard drives. If your studio caught fire, what piece of gear would you rescue first?
My 1970s Yamaha acoustic.
Ooh. Steel or nylon?
Steel. I've written almost every song I've ever written on that guitar.
Ooh, that's cool.
And it's not worth very much. It sounds
Those
fantastic.
early Yamaha. Oh, we'll go back to that.
70s Yamahas are unbelievable.
Reverb.
Plate.
I gotta come up with a tough one here. Delays.
Oh, Echoplex.
Okay, BP, you're gonna have to. I think I won, but what do you think?
Oh yeah, you got it there.
I didn't win. I paid him. Going back to those Yamahas, man. Man, great answers. When they first came out,
Right.
They were trying to sell to Americans and establish their product, and they
Sure.
so they made guitars that they lost money on.
Yeah.
And I had a couple of those early Yamahas that were amazing.
They are amazing.
And then once we all got hooked on the Yamaha brand, then I can't say they diminished the quality, but they raised the price. You know, they
Sure.
and probably they were making so many more they could afford. But that first year when I walked in the record store and played an acoustic and a nylon and a steel string, I had to find a way to get them both. They were amazing.
Yeah, I think it's funny because in Europe the perception's so different with a lot of these products. I notice you endorse Audio Technica. Like in England, that's half the studios have Audio Technica mics.
Yeah.
They have buyers and Audio Technicas.
Yeah.
But over here it's like they're not as well known.
Herb and I are just as seduced by the product as the people behind them.
Right.
And pretty much everybody we work with has a story, and when you meet the people behind Audio Technica, they're just great people, from
Right.
Roxanne all the way up to the very top.
Sure.
You know, I don't know if it's safe to say this, but some of your influences have obviously been Jack Douglas and Dave Jordan, some other people on the engineering part. How do you use your influences and your references without sounding like them? Does it just filter naturally through you, or because like sometimes I'll hear a great mix and I'm tempted to copy elements of it, and of course I can't. Nobody can copy another person exactly because you're copying taste, not sounds. And
Sure.
how a young cat starting out that's trying to get to where we are, how do they use their influences to get?
I think we are blessed because we don't have any one direct influence. What I mean by that is, like, when we were talking earlier, even during here, I love classical, like Miles Davis kind of blues, probably one of the greatest albums ever recorded, I think, by anybody's standards. You know, I'm sure you love that album. I'm sure you like Jerry Mulligan's Nightlights. There's albums that are just, they're albums.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking about Arturo Sandoval earlier for a minute. You know?
Yeah.
There's like things, but then there's Queen, Night of the Opera. There's Plastic Ono Band which to me is like punk rock at its finest. It's 1970.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't expect you. Isolation. I've been. I found you.
Yeah.
And then you've got Double Fantasy, which is a masterpiece that Jack did. That is like one of the greatest sounding records of that period. The great thing about it is they're all just pinnacles. So for influences, it's not like I only listen to punk rock. You know, even though I know the best punk rock is incredible. Iggy. You know, there's just like stuff that just excites you. Raw power, when that guitar comes in on Search and Destroy, 5 times too loud. You know, you're like, whoa, you got the headphones on and you throw them to the floor. It's just that excitement that gets you.
There's a little band coming out. They just came out called Fiddlar, Fidlar.
Right.
They got a song called 40 on Rewind. Look up the video on
Right.
YouTube. Watch that and call me and let me know what you think.
Okay.
These
You
guys
remember that,
are
Connor?
amazing.
Fiddler?
40 on Rewind, Fiddlar. Ooh, they're
The
great.
same kind of passion and energy.
On steroids.
So I think
I don't know them. I never met them, but
Great.
their dad, I think, is a former punk rocker himself or something.
Oh, wow.
Great records.
But to answer your question directly, I think if for somebody up and coming, just have a wide palette. Because if we think of the great producers that we grew up admiring, obviously we can go back to the source. We'll go to outside of his genres, I mean, George Martin. So George Martin did all the Beatles records. He also did Blow by Blow.
You mentioned mostly English people right now.
I grew up in England.
Okay.
But you know, so
I'll give you
he
that.
did Blow by Blow, arguably the greatest guitar album ever. But where's the
Except
correlation?
Bex Bolero was.
I love Bex Bolero.
Yeah. Okay.
But you understand my point. You know,
100%.
it's just like, you know, so you've got a guy, or you know, another guy. You know, we talked about, well, Jack and Dave are both Americans, but it's what about John Leckie? John Leckie was the engineer on Abbey Road, I believe, or was an engineer on Abbey Road. All Things Must Pass, he was also an engineer on. He also did the Stone Roses' first album, which is a masterpiece. Yeah. He did the Bends. So what's the genre? So I think if you're up and coming and you're gonna just find something that you admire that inspires you, but don't. I'm sure you can make $1 million doing one genre, but
I'm never asking about this. I'm asking you if you try to construct your mixing career around mixing vibe, feel, emotion, energy, then genres are irrelevant because those are the elements that not only define a genre but make it work.
Sure.
So, is there any validity to that sentence?
Oh no, it's perfect. I agree 100%.
Because I don't think I could mix a polka record, but pretty much anything else I could.
You can mix a polka.
Well, they don't have enough energy or vibe.
Just parallel compress, bring it up underneath.
I do like tubas and accordions though, and don't you just yearn for 3/4 time every once in a while?
Every once in a while, yeah. Bit of Strauss.
Let's end up by if I don't embarrass you.
No, please.
I love your quote from the Orson Welles movie, Third Man. Can you kind of do that little rant that you did and not embarrass yourself and destroy your career for me? We'll edit it out. Right,
Okay.
BP?
Yeah, sure you will. It's from the Graham Greene book, The Third Man. The thing about the movie that's so great, it's post-Citizen Kane. You know, he leaves America in kind of shame, run out, you know, because, I'm blanking. Who was the name of the guy that kind of ran him out of the country?
I can't remember that.
Newspaper magnate who owned all the newspapers in America.
I've seen Citizen Kane more than that movie, so.
Well, you remember Citizen Kane is kind of a veiled attempt at the guy that had, you know, up on the drive to San Francisco on the PCH has that huge house. The rambling house that has like,
Man.
We should probably edit this out because we're both going to look like idiots because he's so famous. This guy was a newspaper magnate.
Go on the website and let us know.
Find out who it was about.
Hearst?
William Randolph Hearst, thank you. Hearst Castle, yes.
Yeah.
And so basically, he goes to England, and the great thing about the movie is it's written about 1947, but it's filmed in 1949. So when they go and the actual backdrop is the real bombed out Vienna. So it's so incredible that they film it here. And the story is, to quickly get to it, is that this Orson Welles' character, he fakes his own death to try and get away with the fact that he's buying like penicillin and selling it back to, you know, he's buying it on the black market and selling it back. And it's horrific and people are dying out of it, but he tries to justify it. So he's up on this Ferris wheel and he's like pointing down all these people and he's like, if I gave you like £10,000, would you care for any of these one little dots? And his friend is just completely like beside himself, cannot believe what he's doing. And as it gets down to the bottom, this is not in the script, Orson Welles just ad-libs this part. And he goes in 50 years under the Borgias in Italy, they produced the Renaissance, Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci. In 500 years of peace or tranquility in Switzerland, what did they produce? The cuckoo clock.
Wow.
It's genius. It's a way of justifying, but it's out of great passion comes art.
Harmony does not produce creativity. Nope. You got to have some problems. If you want to sing the blues, you can't have a couple of million in the
George
back.
Carlin, remember?
Yeah.
White men don't play the blues, they give the blues.
Hey guys, thanks for hanging with us. As you can tell, I had a wonderful time, talking with Warren. I've met him before, but one of the things that Warren made me think about during the show is there's only one form of creativity. Now, it can manifest itself through different mediums. So Warren comes from a visual medium as a child, and his dad was also a musician. So the creativity that his dad used in a painting is no different than the creativity that Warren used to play a guitar, or the creativity that Orson Welles used in a movie, or the creativity that James Joyce or Graham Greene, his short stories are amazing, you should read those. So creativity is creativity, and if you want to be more creative, don't just stay in your medium. Go to the museum and look at some other mediums and look at other ways that other greats before you have used and enhanced their creativity. And I promise you it'll filter into your own work. And you'll.
Can I add something?
Of course, please.
The first little video I ever posted, or the second one or whatever, I just said, and I really believe this, creativity trumps everything.
It does. It really does.
You can have like the most expensive piece of equipment, and we're in LA here where, everybody seems to have a lot of expensive equipment. But it's always a couple of guys from Liverpool or a couple of guys from Detroit. I don't think even the Stooges grew up with much money.
I'm still trying to work out the relationship between taste and creativity, because between those two concepts, you can do anything.
Right.
And next time we get together, let's talk about taste, okay? Hey, man, listen, thanks for putting up with me.
Thank you for putting up with me.
Hey, guys, covered a lot, got a little homework to do. The Orson Welles thing's amazing. And just because it's 68 years old or 65 years old, it's timeless, because creativity never changes. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.